Stag. Woo!
Hey, what's up, man?
What it
Man,
do, bro?
DJ Davi though.
He did it,
Woo!
right? He did it. He did it.
Golly, crazy. Yeah, he killed it. He killed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like adding that to the show because it gives people like, okay, get a little loose or whatever. You got your jams going on, you can get in the zone. So yeah, he kills it every time. I saw you over there getting it too. So DJ Davi, you got Steven moving. So
You're right. He did. He did.
but yeah, man, Steven, dog. So I haven't seen you in a couple. Has it been over a year or so now? Like the pandemic 2 years ago. I know I linked
Yeah.
up with you guys right before the pandemic kicked in. And like while we was talking about, we took that picture outside, and I think that was the last time I saw you guys, and we
Yeah.
didn't even know what was ahead of us.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. It was like that. Yeah, that picture was like beginning of 2020, maybe January, February time
Yeah,
frame, and then the world stopped.
the world stopped. Man, like what? So what was it like for you? Like this COVID in Charlotte. It just seemed like life changed. Like no one was out. I was in the house the whole time. Did you keep with that? Did you stay in the house?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was in the house. It was, man, it was just different, man.
Yeah.
Of like, again, the world stopped. It's now it's more of a like an adventure of just
Hmm.
going to the grocery store,
Right.
um, and kind of trying to figure, navigate through that. Of okay,
Yeah.
you're masked up, trying not to be really around people if you can help it, and
Hmm.
like basically every outside run as far as like driving somewhere
Hmm.
was, hey, does it have to happen?
Right.
So yeah, it was the first 2 months was like crazy of
Yeah.
just in the crib almost exclusively, and then kind of started to ease
Mhm.
out a little bit, but yeah, no, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally just I don't like that 2019, 2020, 2021, like it's like a blur. And it's crazy how life can pass by like that. And it put my life in perspective, bro. Like I think during the pandemic, I don't know if you met Kendall Rivers. He was a part of
Mhm,
Revive Church. I think you did meet him.
mhm,
He was one of
mhm,
those young
mhm.
brothers that we hung out with at
Yep.
Revive. But he passed away, during the pandemic, and I had saw him in Puerto Rico. And so when that happened, it kind of just threw me off, bro, because I was like, man, I just saw him the other day, and people you're not expecting to die, right? So when we're talking about wealth today, I want people to just keep life in their mind, because people make financial decisions later, because they don't have the finances now. Can we jump on that right there? Like people don't want to make financial decisions now because they don't have the finances, right? Like that's a bad mentality, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's and just to give some grace to people who are in that spot, because some people may be listening right now and saying, okay, well,
Hmm.
that's me. I can't really think about tomorrow because I got to make things happen today. um
Right.
it's it really can be difficult if you're in that space of just trying to get by,
Yeah.
to think beyond just right here right now. um the encouragement that I would give people is just be mindful of how you're viewing things, because
Hmm.
one thing that I've personally seen is people can get to a space where they're not they're not going day to day anymore, or they're not living paycheck to paycheck anymore, as far as they make enough to not live that way. But if
Hmm.
they haven't changed their mentality and their
Hmm.
mindset around what they now have, the more that they have, uh,
Yeah.
you can find yourself in a space where you continue to
Mm.
live in a paycheck to paycheck mentality,
Yeah.
which doesn't allow you to build because you're not thinking about your future self
Mm.
tomorrow.
Yeah. And that paycheck to paycheck mentality, bro. I'm gonna tell you, you talk to the one right here, dog. I'm telling you, like I was telling Amber, like that's how I was. Like I did not understand the power of money in a sense because I'm spending five here, spend seven there, give 10 here. give 20 there. You know, like you don't really keep track of the little dollars until the end. I think this is what people who live paycheck to paycheck do, y'all. So we got our money, right? We got our money, and then we do little things because we can't do big things. We're not traveling, we're not doing any, and those are things you can do with the money that you make. You're just not budgeting, right? So we spend money on these little things, and then we end up, at the end of the first week, bro, like we just got paid. The week is about to be over. We got a whole nother week to go, and a half. And we're like, man, I got $100 left. You know, so being at that point, people think like, oh, my life is over. There's no way that I could get to a place like Steven. What kind of, what other encouragement could you offer for the people that are like, you know what, like I've been working this 9 to 5, I work over 40 hours, and there's no way I can become a millionaire. What would you tell those people?
It I would say that it's a lot easier than you think. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people think that it takes some massive amount, or that you've got to be pouring in thousands of dollars
Mm-hmm.
a month to get there, when the reality is there's this beautiful thing called compound interest, of if you do if you're just consistent to do the right types of things little
Mm-hmm.
by little over time, you
Mm-hmm.
very much can get there, or at least get to a meaningful place. So like,
Yeah.
to give an example, um, if someone were to, and I know this is not a tiny bit of money, but it's not a huge amount of money potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but say if you had someone who said, I could somehow spare, let's say, $200 a month,
Mm-hmm.
and if they were to say, hey, I can commit to, regardless of what happens, whether times are good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
I know I can at least carve away $200 a month to be able to invest.
Yeah.
Um, over the life of the time that most people would work. So let's say if we just say your all of your working years, from your first gig to
Mm-hmm.
potentially a career type of a role, let's say that that's 40 years. Just
Mm-hmm.
throw it out. So say that's from 25 to 65.
Yeah.
If you're doing a $200 a month clip, you'd have almost $1.3 million, assuming that
Mm-hmm.
you were getting the average stock market returns. If you're just saying you're buying
Yeah.
essentially the whole market, or like the 200 companies in the US. So
Yeah.
it's it's not as crazy as people would think. And for somebody, they may say, "Oh man, well, I can't do 200. I
Mm-hmm.
can only do $100. So that doesn't mean I'm going to get to a million." Well, I tell you what, man, it'd be better to
Yeah.
have over $600,000
Mhm.
instead of
Right.
nothing.
Instead of nothing.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
sometimes, and I really want to lean in, just for the listeners, of
Mm-hmm.
one of the most damaging beliefs or lies that we will digest and take to heart is that it's all or nothing. So if I can't hit the full target of where I want to
Mm-hmm.
be, then I might as well not try.
Yeah.
Um, but
Mm-hmm.
the way I want you to think about it is like this: if there was some kind of uh, if there was some kind of like, let's say, like dirt or grime, or just something nasty in your food, and let's say there was a little bit of it in your food,
Yeah.
you like,
Yeah.
um, you wouldn't say, oh well, since there's just a little bit, might as well just pour a bunch in here, and I'm still going to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You'd say,
Mm-hmm.
nah, that doesn't make sense. This is still not good for me.
Right.
Um, in the same way, when you think about money and wealth building, it's okay if it's not all or nothing. A lot of times, life ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have a season of life where you can't do as much as what you'd like to. My encouragement would be, just do what you can, like
Yeah.
with whatever that season is, because
Yeah.
you may get to a place where now you can do more.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have started where, man, I really only could carve out $50 or
Yeah.
$75. I mean, that's just all I can scrape by with. But
Yeah.
for all I know, you may have a breakthrough and now you're adding a zero to that and now you're doing
Mm-hmm.
more like $500 a month or 750.
Yeah.
So the big thing is working those habits of who you are actually becoming in the process.
Mm.
That's really where it's at, is the behavior.
Yeah. I like that. And so with that behavior, how does one who was not, as a child taught about finances or had parents who were in finance, or parents who were aware of, smart money moves, like how do you, like, is there like a three step, like, okay, first come up with a plan? Is there something that you would say to that, with the plan and getting that mindset?
Yeah. So one thing that I've seen that's been pretty consistent is most people did not grow up in a household where there were healthy, comprehensive conversations around money, or just even if we
Mm-hmm.
just say healthy.
Yeah.
Many people just kind of figured it out as they went,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just saw whatever they saw and said, okay, these are going to be my attitudes around money. So my first thing is, I would say, really stop and think about what was your relationship with money coming up
Mm-hmm.
as a kid. Um, did your parents talk about it, or parent, if you grew up in a single parent household, or if grandma and grandpa raised you? What was your experience with money? Was it positive? Was there more month than money when you were coming up? You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, were you
Yeah.
in a situation where, hey, maybe it was a little bit more of a tough upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
and how did that play out in your attitudes of how you look at it?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, I can tell you all things that would be helpful for you to
Yeah.
do. So, like, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, no matter what kind of wealth strategies or money management techniques that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
to exist, you cannot spend more money than what you make.
Yeah.
Like,
People
that
do
is you know what I mean? Like, that's a foundational rule. If you
Yeah.
spend more than what you make, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to go bad for you in the end. So, but, like, I think people may understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what gets tricky is, hey, man, I didn't grow up with a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I have more, I want to get everything that I wasn't able to get before in
Yeah.
the past.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, or maybe you grew up with a lot and you're like, hey, I have no concept of money, and I just get whatever I want whenever I want it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care about the future. I'm just thinking about right here, right now.
Yeah.
And hey, kids, they can get it however they want to. You know what I mean? I'm trying to spend
Yeah.
every dime
Yeah.
by the time I die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which,
Mm.
uh, you're welcome to go that route. For me personally,
Yeah.
I'm big on leaving a legacy, generational wealth,
Yeah.
setting up the next generation to
Mm.
run even further than what we have done. So
Yeah.
so yeah, hopefully that makes some
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense because you're right. Like you could tell us like right now, hey, look, this is the golden book right here, y'all. Like, if you do these steps right here, like you're going to be a millionaire. And people would number one, people would choose either to pick it up or to not pick it up, right? They will either choose to reach out to you or not reach out to you. It's all about that first choice. The first choice tells us how we're going to play this game, right? Like if I like with Steven right now and I say, okay, you guys are hearing Steven, he's financially wise, he has the intellect and the understanding of the money market. Like so if you don't know anything, then your first thought should be I should reach out to Steven, right? But people get into the I wonder how much he costs. And I don't know if it's a black thing or if it's a thing overall, but people go into that with that mindset. So you could already see where people's mindsets are with money when they go like, okay, well, I know this is a good thing, but I don't want to reach out because it probably costs how can you encourage these people? Because no matter what the price is for anything that we go buy, wash machines, cars, do all of these things that will never benefit us, how can people adjust the way they look at services that benefit them?
So there's a lot of different ways to think about it. So I'll just give just kind of an example just to help uh,
Hmm.
make some things make sense. So, for instance, if let's say you have someone who has a job where they have some pretty decent benefits. So let's
Hmm.
say they have some type of work retirement plan, like a 401k, or something to that effect. Or
Yeah.
maybe you're an entrepreneur, um, and you've set up your own type of a plan, like a SEP or a solo 401k, or something like that, where you have a plan for you through your own business. Um, just something as simple as understanding the fee structure
Hmm.
of what investments you buy. Like, even if the investments seem to be very similar,
Hmm.
fees could literally cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
across your working life on something that you're just clicking a button. You spent like 5 minutes on it
Hmm.
and just didn't have anyone to look at it. And I mean, I've
Yeah.
done some numbers of where literally someone could be making around 35 to $40,000, and if they don't have their fees right, it will cost them a six-figure amount
Wow. Jeez.
over time. Yeah.
Jeez. Over time.
So
And that's where the money is over time. The compound
right,
interest, right?
right. Because now you're paying into these fees,
Hmm.
like let's say a front loaded fee or something like that,
Yeah.
instead of your money buying more of
Hmm.
those assets in the stock market to give you more compounding on your
Yeah.
behalf. So, like that, and that's just literally right off the top of my head of just
Yeah.
different things that are there. Or just think about if you've ever gone to like a park where they
Hmm.
have a trail
Hmm.
that you can walk on or ride a bike on. Imagine how much more difficult it would be if
Hmm.
no one had actually carved out a trail.
Mm. Come on. Right.
You might be able to travel around that park, but I think
Hmm.
we all know it would be far more difficult
Yeah.
to do it if no one ever flattened out the ground and cleared out the shrubbery and trees and
Hmm.
plants and poison ivy. If you're
Right.
wearing shorts and now you're scratching all over
Hmm.
the place and your skin
Yeah.
drying up. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
even just being able to talk to someone who has traveled down the path you're trying to take,
Yeah.
there's so much value in that. So
Yeah. And that's a life wisdom, right? Like I think that we fail to see it in that way because we're, and I've been guilty, like I say we, because I've been guilty of it a lot of times. Like when I make money decisions, I'm like, well, oh man, like it costs to get this kind of advertisement. Even doing things for business, like we shortchange ourselves, and in turn, in the long term, we screw ourselves over because we keep shortchanging ourselves. We don't see the value in doing what we need to do now in order to get something later for the future. So our parents can teach us, but how did you decide to act on what your parents taught you?
so so for me, I I'm really thankful for my parents, and then I want to take a moment just to really honor them and some of the groundwork that they laid for me
Yeah.
of I don't take it for granted that I was aware of this idea of living within my means, of not spending more than what I had, and then at least having an understanding of kind of old school, people today
Hmm.
call it an emergency fund.
Yeah.
But when I was coming up, my parents, my folks, they called it a rainy day fund.
Yeah. Rainy day.
just having money for a rainy day. And so it helped me build like the discipline to say, okay, I'm making some
Mm-hmm.
money. I want to put some aside for giving. I want to put some aside for enjoyment, and I want to put some aside just to save for later, for something I may want later.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, like living in the house with my parents, I didn't necessarily have to have bills like that I had to take care
Yeah.
of. Um,
Yeah.
so they
That's a
gave me
blessing.
that. Right, thank you. Yeah, they gave me that
Mm-hmm.
kind of foundation. But um, what I had to journey on my own to really figure out was, okay, I'm good with managing money. I'm good with being able to save it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm not going to be able to save my way to wealth.
Mm.
And so I was looking at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
my idea of investing coming up was putting money into a bank CD or certificate
Yeah.
of deposit, where,
Mm-hmm.
it might get like 4 or 5% interest or, whatever the case may have been. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, this isn't really going to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah.
Um, I've got to invest it in a way that can grow quicker than the rate that I'm at.
Mm.
And so I thank my parents for the foundation of what I
Yeah.
just said. Um,
Yeah.
and yet I also got to see, I'm like, okay, there's more here that they may not know themselves from experience because they just weren't
Mm.
taught that and they
Yeah.
did good with what they knew.
Mm-hmm.
But this might bless somebody here is really the aim of most parents. If I'm speaking to the people that are parents, is
Mm-hmm.
what would be ideal is that you'd want your ceiling to become your children's floor.
Mm. Amen to that.
You know what I mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
where you are capping off and you've really done well and you're passing the baton, that they're starting from a place of, okay, I'm building on top of what was already laid out before me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that was what I did. Was I'm like, okay, I've got that part, but the investing part, I'm gonna have to go and really learn
Yeah.
what that looks like. And so that's what drove me, was my
Yeah.
appreciation for what my parents had done,
Mm-hmm.
um, and
Taking it to
saying,
the next
man,
level.
I want it exactly. I just want to
Yeah.
take it to the next level.
Yeah. I think that's an awesome thing and an awesome commendable thing because you're like you didn't just say like, oh yeah, my parents taught me how to put money in socks and jars and the big old tubs of thing you put your coins in, and like this I'm saving money, by the time I'm 70, like I'll have this much saved up. I think a lot of people save like that, and I think it's saving off of survival because you are not educated on how to save. I think about survival money, right? Like you got money, I got money stocked up. I got money in the mattress. I got money over here, and I'm ready for the end of the world, right? But then, up until the end of the world, then like, what about the money on top of your money that you're missing out on? I think more Black people, especially, need to learn that their money can make money. Even with the stock market, you talk like your wealth. You have real estate and stock, right?
Yeah.
So with the stock market, I dove into it a few years ago, and I was like, man, so I take $20, and I buy this $2 stock or what $5, $20 stock, one stock, $20. I get, and I'm like, man, I made. I remember one night I woke up, it was like $200. I was like, oh snap, I made $200, and like, my old self would have just cashed out, cash it out, going to the mall, right? But my other self was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a percentage. I'm going to take a percentage of what I invested and pull that out and put it away, and then I'll keep my winnings, what I gained inside, and let it make more money. Um, and that was just based off of just kind of talking to Amber and stuff. She kind of gave me the lowdown. She's like, you should do that. I was gonna leave it all in there. She's like, you should take out a little bit. But so with the stock market and with real estate, you've been able to generate your wealth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Absolutely.
you didn't have any real estate agents in your family. You didn't have any stockbrokers in your family. So this was
No.
all based on you going out there and getting the education.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. Yeah. I didn't have either in my family. I just knew that I knew that the stuff that I did know wasn't going
Mm-hmm.
to get me to where I was trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet definitely was not what it is today at that time. So I mean,
Yeah.
this may sound like being a dinosaur, but like actually had to go to the library sometimes. You know
Oh
what I mean,
man.
to get books, like physical books, and read them,
Right.
um, to get an understanding. And plus, I would use different opportunities, like maybe if I was doing some type of public speaking or things
Mm-hmm.
like that, as far as uh, whether it been like some self development type stuff, I would
Yeah.
use the time to speak, which I actually took a Dale Carnegie uh, class where it was around
Oh.
like time management and speaking and just effectively communicating. And
Yeah.
what I did is I would just talk about where I wanted to be financially and that I wanted to do real estate investing and
Mm-hmm.
be in the stock market and things like that,
Yeah.
and just kind of share some of my story at that time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it was amazing how it was it was like divine connections with different people, who
Mm-hmm.
were like, man, I resonate with what you're saying, um, and maybe I can connect you with this person to kind of at least get you moving in the right direction. And I was willing to spend money to
Yeah.
get the help that I
Mm.
needed to push forward. So um,
Can you say
that
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 again? Can you say that one more time? Like they say in the poetry side, rewind when you said I was willing to spend the. Can you go ahead and rewind that bar just now?
right. Yeah, I was saying I was willing to actually spend the money to
Mm-hmm.
get help,
Mm-hmm.
um, to ultimately go in the direction that I wanted to be in. And so, yeah, man, like that was a
Yeah.
big thing, was
Yeah.
real estate and the stock market.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like networking too. I think
Mhm.
a lot of people, with the pandemic, they're like, I'll just stick to what I know, stay home. But there's still opportunity to network, even virtually. I mean, the virtual, like you just said, you don't have to go to the library no more. You can virtually. There's a plethora of information on the internet and people. So I think the networking is big. And then you said sharing what you desire to do. I think it's an amazing thing to be able to tell people like, hey, this is what I'm seeing myself doing. This is where I see myself going. And the awesome part, like Stephen said earlier about the person that goes through the path and clears a way and makes a path, is that while you're speaking about where you want to go, there's people who are like, oh man, I know somebody who cleared a path to that. Let me connect you to them, right? So I think that's a powerful thing, man.
Yeah, yeah, man. No, it really is. It really
Yeah.
is. And you like I'd make the case that most people um, are downplaying how capable they really can be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I love to give analogies just to really help punch points home. So literally, if you had a a hose or like
Mm-hmm.
a faucet, if we want to kind of go, kind of southern, we call it a
Yeah,
spigot.
well,
You know what I
speaking.
mean? Like
Yeah.
outside,
Mm-hmm.
if it's just dripping water on
Mm-hmm.
concrete, so just drip, drip,
Mm-hmm.
drip, if it goes long enough, it will crack the concrete.
Mm.
Just water.
Yeah. Wow.
And so my encouragement to those listening is, man, the power of disciplined consistency, man,
Hmm.
give me discipline over motivation
Yeah.
any day of the week.
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
Mm.
We may not all have the all the smarts or aptitude. We may not all be super articulate, and being able to communicate. But man, we can all be consistent in
Mm,
something
yeah.
to build and grow. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. Just like little things can make a huge difference over
Mm,
time.
yeah. I'm glad you said that, man. And we over here, yeah, out here preaching to y'all souls out here. Y'all better be listening to this brother. No, but that's real, bro. You know, like that water dropping on that concrete consistently in the same place. You know, it just makes me think about the times where I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for opportunities, and like I'm waking up, I'm filling out these the resumes, I'm filling out the job applications, I'm going to the unemployment office, and like that consistent beat to the drum of persistence, and everything usually works out in the end, right? Like the door usually opens. The Bible says, knocking, the door will be open, right? Ask and you shall receive. So I feel like a lot of times in our life we have to apply those basic principles of life in our journey to success and wealth. So I think people just don't see it for themselves. You know, like some people just don't see, I don't have to struggle my whole life.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
like they can't see it. They
man.
think this is just what it's supposed to be. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and I'm gonna dive in on this for a little bit. So
Go ahead.
I might take us somewhere. So
Yeah.
I need to be very clear here that struggle is not synonymous with the Black experience.
Mm,
So I'm gonna say that again.
come on.
Struggle is not synonymous with the Black experience. Like you can do well. Like it does, and it doesn't make you less than if you actually started out in a decent space. Like how in the world can we be pro generational wealth and
Mm-hmm.
then look down on someone who has benefited from some generational wealth, like
Yeah.
within our own community? Like it doesn't make you less of an authentic uh, Black person or African
Right.
American, or however you want to call it. Because I would think that all the parents would
Mm-hmm.
like for their kids to have something
Mm.
when the parents are gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That's real.
so, like it doesn't have to be
Mm.
struggle. Like
Yeah.
so for some people they may be thinking, oh man, I might be inauthentic if
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to get it out of the mud.
Mm-hmm.
That's It's okay if you didn't. You shouldn't have to feel
Yeah.
ashamed about that if that's
Yeah.
your situation. And obviously, for those who do have to get it out of the mud, um, the hope would be that you build in a way that the next generation doesn't have to.
Mm. Come on.
So you know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
there's just
That's
so
real.
many things that I think about with that of, parents wanting to give their kids what they didn't have. Man, don't
Mm-hmm.
forget to give them what you did have too.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Come on.
even
You
if
don't
you
got
may
to give
not
them the
have,
mud though, right? You don't got to
right,
give them the
right,
mud.
right. You don't have to give them the mud.
Yeah.
Um, but there's so much stuff you can possibly be able to offer. Like,
Yeah.
hey, okay, man, you have diligence,
Mm.
that you're an honest person,
Yeah.
that you've got character.
Mm.
When you say something, you actually do it. And if
Yeah.
by some chance you don't do it, because none of us are perfect, you own
Mm-hmm.
it and say, hey, my bad. I was supposed to show up. I was supposed to do this. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Here's how I'm going to make it up.
Yeah. That's big. That's that's a big game changer right there, Stephen. Because if you go from that point as a person, just as a human being, the kind of person that's like, hey, look, if I say I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there. If I say I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna give it 100%. If you're that kind of person, your life has to take a drastic change, because you're bringing in a whole nother attitude, and that life and attitude go hand in hand. If you have a, oh, everything sucks, the white man's on my neck, I can never be anybody. You know, like if you have that mentality, it will always be a confined space for you. And it doesn't have to be any man putting their foot on your neck. It could be you doing it to yourself. So like
Mm.
when you're talking about this and coming out the mud, and that's I use the whole white man thing because that's a southern little thing too. The white man doing this and the white man doing, everybody blaming the white man. And at some point, I mean, there's probably is a white guy up top messing up everything for everybody. But but all in all, with black people in the South, like just everywhere. I'm speaking. We're South Carolina people, right? So black people in the South, like we think, like Stephen is saying, like, oh man, like if they didn't come from the mud, they didn't get it out the mud, then they're not the same as us. They're not black. I think it's important for us to realize the value of people who are no longer getting it out of the mud. Um,
Mhm.
and I think DJ. So DJ, I had invited DJ Davi to jump in and ask a question because he was so excited to have you on here. So I'm gonna bring him on here right now.
Hey,
DJ
hey,
Davi,
what's up?
what's
Hey,
up,
what's
DJ?
good, man?
What's going on?
What's up, bro?
What's up, Alan?
So we just was talking about how getting it out the mud, like and the mentality of black people when it's like, oh well, they didn't get it out the mud, so it doesn't make them necessarily black. Like, did you want to talk to him about those points? Did you want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Oh no, I've been listening to y'all.
Yeah.
Now I just want to thank Mr. Stack for coming on. And last week, Alan called me and he answered the phone. He was like, "Hello." I said, "Are you okay?"
Right, right, right. He talked to
Yeah.
me too.
He's he said, "I don't know if I'm be able to go on today." I, I said, "You know what? I know you missed the Never Stop, Never Quit, but I think we need to postpone."
Right, right,
And
right.
and
We can't hear you, DJ. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I
You
think
gotta
you
unmute
muted yourself.
yourself.
okay,
You gotta unmute yourself.
yeah,
Oh, we missed your question. There we go.
Unmute it.
You're muted. You're
Unmute it.
muted.
oh, here we go. Blue
There we go.
means go.
Yeah.
Oh, quick question. So you went to Clemson University. What did you study at Clemson?
Engineering. I studied industrial engineering while I was there.
Okay, and when did you transition into the financial aspect of your career?
So it's funny because believe it or not, like I've always been this way. I mean, like yes, I started really moving into finance in more of an official capacity later, but like when I can clearly remember being 8 years old and being on a family vacation and we at the motel, so not the hotel,
The
the
motel.
motel, like where you pull the car up and you outside when you open the room door. But like I can remember being 8 years old and thinking, man, I wonder who owns this place, and what do they make? Because I know the house cleaning people aren't the ones that like run it or the receptionist at the front desk. I don't think I would have been aware enough to call it a concierge at that point. Um, but like so it's always kind of been in my mind, like even when I was at Clemson, and like fellas and ladies will tell you, literally I was coaching people up and consulting people even when I was in college
Wow.
of, hey man, like I know they're giving you pizza or a sweater, but like you didn't get magically pre-selected for this credit card. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right,
they're trying to hustle you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Of signing up for a card and hitting you with 25, 30%
Mm-hmm.
interest rates. Um, or this guy, he won't mind me saying his name, but one of my good friends, a guy named Jeff,
Mm-hmm.
was asking me. So I'm 6'1", like 210, somewhere about in there. So I wouldn't say I'm super tall, but I'm not short either. Um, so when I was in college, I had a Honda Civic is what I was driving. And people who know, they know. Like I had this
Yeah.
green Honda Civic. And so I can remember one of my homeboys like asked me, "Hey man, well you got like some gigs, doing some internships and making some money. Like, are you gonna get a new ride?" And me being like, "Yo, bro, this one's paid for."
Mm-hmm.
This is the new
Mm-hmm.
ride. You know what I'm saying? So even kind of coming full circle to your question, like it's always been in me to be all the way real with it, of just wanting to help those around me be in a good space financially.
Mm,
Okay, so it's something you've always just been curating your knowledge in, and just always reading up on it. Because I know that's important, just the financial literacy component. And I was thinking maybe you went to school for finance, but it was just something that was just ingrained in you. You just had a natural curiosity for
Right,
it.
yeah.
right. Yeah,
Oh,
that's really what it was for me. Was like you said, natural curiosity and just passion around it. And just at the time of this broadcast, because who knows when people will actually see it, when it goes
Hmm.
out later. Um, but which celebration of the last slaves finding out about being freed and emancipated in 1865 on June 19th.
Hmm.
Um, I have long believed that one of the most revolutionary things that we can do as a people
Hmm.
is get our money in order.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And we'll always have people, and this is across any people group, you always have people who are, in tough spots or struggling.
Hmm.
Um, but in my mind, I'm like, even if we just focus on people who make enough to
Hmm.
live already, if we had an overwhelming majority of those subsection of people making really wise decisions, it would be dramatic,
Hmm.
the impact that it could make on just the greater community as a whole.
Yeah.
Um, just to see that, you know what I mean? So like, man, I'm all for supporting different businesses and frequenting them and things like that. Um, and yet my greatest encouragement is build personally
Yeah.
for ourselves, I mean, with our own personal financial situations.
Yeah. That's a that's good info right there. And so I wanted to ask you while DJ Davi was here, and we're both new dads. You're already a veteran dad. So for all these COVID babies out there, all these COVID baby parents out there, there's the new baby boomers. What advice would you like to give to the new parents who are out there, where we're ending the free diapers that we got? They're coming to an end. So making financial decisions for our child,
yes.
while they're babies, and giving them that extra hand. What kind of advice would you give to parents at this
Yes, Stephen, please, because it's daddy daycare over here. I'm here by myself with the baby. So please give me all the advice.
Right. Well, look, I'll say this part that's not directly financial, but I think it's still good. Is first off, give yourself grace.
point?
Um, like you're gonna have issues and make mistakes. As a man of faith, I'm like, okay, if God is perfect and we're His kids, look how crazy we are. You know what I mean? So like, give yourself grace as you're trying your best to raise your kids. But yeah, as far as financially, um, you can just be, I would say, just be mindful um, of some of the decisions that you're making, especially when they're
Mm,
super young. Because a lot of times, barring if there's no, like, health issues or things like that, a lot of what can make kids be even more expensive is just the parents.
mm,
You know what I
mm.
mean? Saying,
Yeah.
hey, my baby got to have J's and Yeezys, you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
fresh out all the time, or their clothes have to be super name brand. When I'm like, hey, they gonna poop and spit up and do everything they do, on it, whether it's Louis Vuitton or no name, store
Yeah.
brand. Um,
Yeah.
so those would be some things that just I would say you can be mindful of. Um, you can tap into your community of people. So
Hmm.
whether it's if you've got a local place of worship, or it could just be within your friend group or neighborhood. Of You'd be amazed at how many people are willing to help.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they remember if they had children being there and given, like, hey, they may be done with the baby factory, so they're like, hey, I've got clothes to give away, and so instead of giving
Yeah.
it to Goodwill or Salvation Army or
Hmm.
what have you, just saying, hey, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Um, so those are just some quick things
Yeah.
that come to mind. Last thing I will say though, and this isn't directly, but it's important, is um, as your kids start to get older, include them into the process of money, and be
Mm.
intentional about having conversations around it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm intentional that I'll take my kids with me and purposefully do a deposit at the bank so that they
Hmm.
can see that all money activity isn't just spending, because you get to see that if you're going to the grocery store, or
Right.
buying toys at like a Five Below or something like that.
Hmm.
um but to see, okay, this is where you're trying to build. Something that I actually detail in the book that I wrote with my daughter was,
Yeah.
uh we played Monopoly, and we actually had a conversation about life and money in the game. Now, I had to
Mm.
go ahead and whoop her. You know what I mean? In the game, I had to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did have to go ahead and do that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't just gonna
Good
let her
whooping.
win, um, but like after playing, like just trying to explain some life concepts at the level that she was at the time, which the part that I write about, at that time she was 8 years old.
Hmm.
Of just, hey, here's things to think about. Or when you go into the grocery store, you know, instead of kids are going to randomly ask for stuff once they're in there anyway, like, oh man, let me get
Hmm.
some fruit roll-ups, or fruit snacks,
Right.
or candy chips, whatever.
Hmm.
um but even it can be something simple as, before you go, like, you can have a list and maybe ask them, hey, what do you want
Mm.
from the grocery store, so that they get a chance to be a part of the process of you planning ahead
Yeah.
before you go. And now they're still probably going to ask for what they want, but you can say,
Hmm.
hey, this is the thing that you said you wanted.
Hmm.
uh, do you still want that, or do you want this over here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, just trying to
Hmm.
help them to even just see what quote unquote money management or even budgeting looks like,
Yeah.
in a really simple way. So
Yeah.
hopefully that
That
helps.
sounds like decision making too. Like you're not only like, you're going to the store with your kids. I remember my grandma going to my store with my grandma, Piggly Wiggly, and it's like, don't touch that, and put that down, and and like, I was
Right.
the kind of little kid that was putting stuff in my pocket. Though, so I can't hold you to it. As a child, I was I was not an honest child. Very grew up street, like, oh, it was different back in the day. I mean, like, I don't know. It was almost like you're borrowing candy. But that's so,
Yeah, Stephen.
but like, what you say, David?
I was gonna say, Stephen, I'm glad you said that, because I thought about buying Scarlett not buying, getting her some boxes and paper for her birthday.
Mm,
Right.
That's it.
boxes and
Right.
paper.
That's all kids
Boxes
play
and paper.
with. When you buy stuff
Right.
when they're
Right.
one,
You right.
like you buy them
Right.
like a lawnmower, and they
Yeah.
just end up
Right.
playing with the box. I'm like, I'm just gonna get a bunch of
Hmm.
boxes with papers in it. Saving
Yeah.
money. We're talking about saving, right?
Saving
Saving,
money.
investing.
Right.
It's real
Right.
though. I bought Lola like this. Well, Amber bought Lola like these blocks, different shapes, right? And then she's supposed to stuff them in the spaces that they fit in, with the shape. And I'm like, she doesn't even know right now to do that. This could be for later, but I mean, like, I gave her the little what's the little tower, the jigsaw tower thing or whatever, the jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
those little blocks like, hey, build that, like. But saving money, like we don't see how like if we save money when we grocery shop by preparing and planning and buying what we need, and getting the kids what they want. Like I think a lot of parents should focus on uh dating their children in a sense. Like, you're not gonna people are always trying to be cheap with their kids. If your kids want something, teach them. If you can teach them
Oh
the
yeah.
importance of money and
Hmm.
show them the impact that it's going to make on their allowance, or going out on Friday night, like, hey, look, if we go do this today, Friday is going to look real different. What do you think about that, Stephen?
Yeah, no, I think it's very good, man, to like welcome them into those things and to get things that they actually want. Um, that it doesn't have to be always no, 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 no.
Yeah.
But like you said, helping to strengthen their decision making process. Um, Another thing that I would even throw out there too is is you can even look to do things like investing on your kids' behalf. So you can
Mm-hmm.
open up accounts like a custodial account, so like a
Mm-hmm.
UGMA or UGMA or UTMA, UTMA type of account. The UGMA, I'll explain that one, of Universal Gifts for Minors Act, where you as a parent can invest on your kid's behalf while they're a minor, while they're under 18.
Mm-hmm.
um, and here's one thing I know is uh, the money in the investment account lasts far longer than their interest in playing with the toys that they got for
Mm-hmm.
Christmas or birthdays or things like that. And again, I'm not saying to not ever get gifts.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's ways to be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about building or even encouraging family of, hey, uh, and this could just be an idea for people that are listening, of saying, um, hey, we're gonna take care of, like the toys and or whatever playthings for the kids, but maybe asking family if they want to get them something. Hey, would you be willing to put some funds towards their investment account,
Yeah.
or their college fund, their college
Mm-hmm.
plan, like a 529 plan.
Yeah.
Um, so those are different ways to think about it, to do it. And again, it's okay if family wants to give some stuff. Like if grandma's like, no, baby, I want her to have something that she can touch
Yeah.
and feel from me. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also okay to give grandma the option to say, hey, if you want to also chip in
Mm-hmm.
towards your baby's future of potentially being able to
Yeah.
go to school and not have to have student loans possibly, or limited
Yeah.
student loans, or just an investment account that can go towards their life.
Yeah.
um, let's think about that as well.
Yeah. I like that. So before we wrap things up, I want to ask both of you a question. So I want to start with David first, and then David will let you wrap up with Stephen, and then I'll ask Stephen the question. Or
Okay.
yeah.
Can I
So
ask
David,
Mr.
this
Stephen one more question?
yeah, yeah. You so go ahead and ask him that, and then I'll ask my question, and then wrap
Can
up like that.
I just want to know from Mr. Stephen, what was your most difficult on your way to becoming debt free? What was your most difficult obstacle during that process?
Good question.
On the journey to becoming debt free,
Yes.
um, it would have been, um, so my uh, when I got married, my wife had student loans from school, and and just the monotony of working through knocking that out over
Mm,
time, which I may be old school in this, and this may not be everybody's cup of tea, but my mentality was, okay, even though these were quote unquote her loans, it was ours together
yeah.
to work together and knocking it out. Um, and so like took ownership and saying, hey, we'll take care of this. So I mean, even just for some people, they may be like, man, that's kind of mind blowing. Like, nah, man, that's hers. she
Yeah.
brought that in here. I don't want to touch that. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
you know, so uh, I would say just just working through that and the steadiness, chipping and chopping away at it, because it actually was more money, because my home is paid off too.
Hmm.
It was more money to actually pay that off, because we're talking, like a six-figure amount.
Right.
Um,
It was more money to pay the house off or the student loan.
the house, the
Okay.
house.
Yeah.
Um, but there was kind of an excitement about that, because,
Hmm.
so full disclosure, uh, by that point I was already a millionaire,
Hmm.
and just said, hey, I want to knock out everything, even though I
Hmm.
knew I could potentially get a better return uh, elsewhere. Uh, there was just there's just something different about being like, nah, man, I don't owe anybody
Yeah.
anything. Like
Yeah.
even the grass just look a little bit greener
It look
in the
greener.
yard,
I
you
can
know,
imagine, bro. I can
right?
imagine, dog. They be calling me like a student loan called me today. Is this Alan? No, it's not Alan. That's not me
Right.
no more. But but man, so with that, being like the difficult part, my wife Amber asked, she said, if you had to start your journey all over again, is there anything you do differently?
Um, so even though I was pretty aggressive in investing early,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been even more aggressive than what I
Mm,
was. Um, like knowing what I know now, um, literally, I would have made millions of dollars more
wow.
knowing what I know now if I
Yeah.
knew it then. Um, and I mean, I don't beat myself up about it.
Right.
I just say, hey, especially if I'm talking to young people,
Hmm.
I just try to give them the blueprint of the things I wish I knew back then.
Yeah. That's real right there, and I think that's something that we should all listen to because, like I told Amber, 5 years is going to go by no matter what, whether you're alive or not. 5 years from now is going to happen. Like it doesn't matter if you're here or not, right? So if that's the case, and like how you were saying, $200 a month, if you got 200 to put aside, if you got 100, not even put aside, but to invest, because we're talking,
Mhm.
we ain't talking put it in your little cookie jar.
Right.
We're talking
Gotta buy.
investing. So
Right.
yeah, you gotta buy, you gotta spend. But also you need to be guided, and that's why we have Steven here, is because he can offer you his services. He can actually the first call is a free call, if I'm not mistaken. Am I mistaken?
Yeah. No. 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 You're not. You're not. You're not
Okay,
mistaken.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a little thing that scrolled around that, but I can't find it. So, but yeah, so make sure you guys reach out to Steven if you have any questions. So this question I have before I wrap up things here with you guys is, so David, what is one of your goals that you have as a father, to ensure that you are leaving a legacy? And Steven, you could prep now since I've put him on the spot.
Can Stephen go first so I can prep? No, I'll go. Let me go first. Let me go first. So, Alan, let me make sure I understand. What am I doing to make sure I leave a legacy for Scarlett?
Yeah. After today, after this talk today.
After the, well, I've always had a goal for her to not have to work if she doesn't. That's my goal for her,
Mm,
is to not have to work. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I can, investing wise, that she doesn't have to work. I'd rather
yeah.
her depend on herself because I'm in this workforce and it's just a different workforce for women
Mm,
and they deal with a lot of stuff and I don't want her to deal with that, period. So that's
mm,
what's driving me to make sure, hey, you got to get all your monies, put it
yeah.
in, invest it. But I can definitely use a consultation to make sure I'm investing properly and working this in doing this as efficiently as possible. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's fueling me right now, and that's what I plan to leave for Scarlett.
Okay. Awesome.
You heard that, Scarlett? I'm,
Yeah.
I'm working.
You're, So awesome.
Love
So
it.
we you guys. I think Steven, I don't know if you follow him or not, but you got his contact. You got his email, so you make sure you hit him up and follow up,
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that
yeah. I got to sync
consultation
with
right
this
there,
brother.
so we get the
Yeah,
family right. But so Steven,
right.
same question to you. Like, so you're already at a place, but I'm sure you're not saying this is my cap. There's more that I can be doing. So what are some goals that you have for your children?
So, so one thing I'll say about generational wealth is that I don't believe it's generational wealth if you don't equip your kids with the character to
Mm,
be able to sustain it.
mm,
Um, and so I'll say that again. I don't believe it's generational wealth if you don't equip your kids with the character to be able to sustain it. And for some, you'd be like, "Oh, that sounds good. What does that mean?" So, let's say if you leave each kid $1 million, let's just say
mm,
that that's the number when you pass. If they don't if they don't understand how to handle it, or just from a character standpoint, just may not be in a firm place to do well with it.
yeah.
You've really given them more resources to possibly harm themselves and others with.
Mm,
And that can be in all kinds of forms of different things, or like say that drug abuse, or all kinds of different things, if they're just not in a good place. So, like, from a legacy standpoint, um I want I would want my kids to to love God and love people,
mm,
um, to understand that we love people and use things, not love
mm,
things and use people.
mm,
Um, and yes, I do feel very comfortable in saying that I would like to set up each of my children to be in a space where they're all millionaires,
mm,
for when they're starting their own family and being equipped of, again, knowing what to do
mm-hmm.
with it. Um, but I don't want them to be wealthy just to be wealthy. I
Yeah.
want them to be a blessing to other people
Mm,
around them. And Alan, you know this about me,
yeah.
and DJ Davi. I'm sure we'll get to connect at some point. Um, but like, real talk, I'm just a regular dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, don't believe that I'm beyond anybody. And there's no amount of money that I would be worth that would make me think that I'm better than somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even when I didn't have as much as I have, I didn't think I was beneath anybody either.
Yeah. Mm.
So hopefully that was just something that would encourage others.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I gotta ask, man. So what does it feel like? I don't know what it feel like when I go to my bank account and it changes like the weather sometimes. But like, what is it? So what does it feel like to be a millionaire? Like, so you've been a non-millionaire now, and you get to a place where you can look in your bank account, even if it's not even mil, but you got a good little chunk sitting up in there. What is that? What does that feel like?
I mean, it's well, at this point, obviously, I've been up here for a bit,
Yeah,
but like, it was pretty cool. Like, when
yeah,
it happened, like, it was a little surreal because obviously you just kind of build in the process, and
mm-hmm.
kind of your net worth might go over 1 million and then kind of
Yeah,
dip under and go, and then all
mm-hmm.
of a sudden you get to a place where it's like, oh yeah, it's good bit over, and
Yeah,
you just kind of keep trucking along.
yeah,
Um, but I think what's pretty crazy about it at this point
mm-hmm.
is that once you really start building, like, small percentages
Mm-hmm.
become huge amounts of dollars.
Mm.
And so what I mean by that is, and I don't want to get too mathy with the people, so hopefully they can follow me here, is if you have, let's just say, $1 million. So,
Mhm,
if you're
Hmm.
worth $1 million, meaning that you have the your assets minus your liability, so what you own minus what you owe, equals $1 million or more. That's the definition of a millionaire.
mhm,
Um, If you get a 1% gain on $1 million, that's $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you get a 10% gain on $1 million, that's $100,000.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So, like, when you really see the compounding, because it's all the same. Like, if you
Yeah.
got 10 grand
Mm-hmm.
and you get 1%,
Yeah.
it's $100. If you get
Right.
10%, it's 1,000. So it's
Mm-hmm.
all relatively the same. That's probably, if I'm just talking like dollars and cents,
Yeah.
that's probably the coolest part, um, is seeing that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not wild at all to, yeah, it's nothing to have a 5-figure day. I mean, I've had some stuff in the pandemic where I had like 6-figure moves in like 2 or 3
Yeah.
days type stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Good money.
so yeah, 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 yeah. So that part is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like I said, my identity is not wrapped in that stuff, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, well, yeah, no, we moving, we cooking.
Yeah. And that's what I love
Mm-hmm.
about you, bro, because like you said, you're real. Everybody knows you're a humble dude. You're down to earth. I didn't even know you was a millionaire until like later down. I'm like, what? Y'all talking about it? Somebody was like, man, you're a millionaire. I thought I was talking to Mike. He was like, yeah, I was talking to Steven about some money stuff, man. And I was like, Steven like that? God dang, why I didn't even know? You know, he come out with the Steve Jobs with the jean and the black turtleneck. I just play, but no, man. So I celebrate your success, man. I celebrate your success, Davi's success. Like it's awesome to see men just stepping up, being fathers. It's not like you're like, oh, I'm a millionaire, I don't gotta be a dad. Here, kids, take the money. You're talking like you're involved, you're involved, and that's an amazing thing. So when we're on my last question, and we've been talking about legacy throughout this, but I want to put it in the frame of when it comes to Stephen L. Stack. When it comes to you, what do you want your legacy to be?
Man, in the simplest form, when my days are done, my hope would be that people would say, "Man, I do love God and He loved people."
Mm,
Period.
facts.
So
Period.
it ain't even
Mm-hmm.
about the bread. Like, I'll
Yeah.
use the bread to help me do those two things that I just said.
Come on, I've used the bread. Come on, man, you gonna make me go into another part of the sermon and the church supposed to be over. No, but that's powerful. And like when you said you use the bread, like I know, you talk about giving, how giving is a big part of it, and just I think giving with wisdom, right? It's not just so that's my last question. When you say giving as someone with money, do you mean like giving like, oh here, bam, bam, I'm out here, or you give with wisdom? Like how I know you give with wisdom, but I'm just asking how you do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so, and I'll just kind of be broad to people too. So, that can look like giving to, a nonprofit or place of worship that you may attend. Um, it can also look like just actually helping, direct to individual people. Which with that
Mm-hmm.
one, you just want to be more mindful about what your expectations are. I'm of the belief, if I'm going to give, like, I'm actually giving it to you, like, even if it's a loan. So, like, even if I've
Yeah,
loaned people money,
yeah.
I won't give them an amount that that I wouldn't be okay with if I didn't get any of it back. If I didn't get
Mm,
any of it back, and I think that'll keep you out of a lot of trouble.
yeah,
Because some people, they're wanting to be helpful, wanting to give, and they'll give somebody their rent money or their mortgage money, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry, bro, I got you. I'm gonna pay you back.
mm-mm,
I get paid on Tuesday." You know what I mean? So I'm gonna got the money to you. Don't worry about it, man. It's certified. You just helping me
yeah,
through. And you've given them the rent money, and if it works out, then it works out. But what if
mm-hmm.
Tuesday comes? And, oh man, bro, man, you're not gonna believe this, man. But what had happened was, and
What
now
happened?
you got a 3-day notice on your
Mm-hmm.
door, if it's rent, and depending on how long you go on the mortgage situation, you could start to get into a really sticky spot.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you do want to give with some wisdom for sure. Like being mindful of like if you're giving with family and things like that. Like I know there's a lot of different dynamics to doing that, where you've got kid like you could be the kid giving to one of your parents, um, and like that's one thing I say is, hey man, it's sometimes you will have to say no to people even if they birthed you.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I know that can be a really hard thing for a lot of folks to do because you feel like, oh man, I owe them my life.
Mm-hmm.
But if your parents or parent is in quicksand and so are you, what's going to happen to you both?
Yeah. Somebody's mouth gonna get filled with sand.
Right, right,
For real.
right.
You
Like
know.
you're both going to sink. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to have even just some wisdom to say, okay, I'm right now, I'm trying to build, I'm trying to get out of the sinking sand, the quicksand,
Yeah.
so I can get to stable ground, so I can at least more in a more stable way be able
Mm-hmm.
to help,
Yeah.
if that's what's needed. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Like we're good, you have a lot of people really good natured, they want to help, and they just hadn't been maybe potentially as thoughtful
Yeah.
about the decisions they're making.
Yeah. And I think like being someone who has been the person on the borrowing side, like being that guy that you probably be like, man, Alan just asked for another 10, he asked for another 20. Like he was in the Marine Corps, right? Like, like there was a period of my life where I was really broke. I'm talking about like eating like some loaves of bread, but then I was smoking up I was smoking up, the money, the five that I had, because I was like, yo, life is hard. So I'm gonna smoke up the five,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then go get a little loaf of bread. So there was so like I stand here where I am now and look back at where I was, and I'm like, man, there was so many times where I was homeless, and like I meet somebody at school and his grandmother opens their home to me, and like God just creates this space while I'm in my becoming phase. And I want to
Mm,
encourage people out there who are just in a stage, right? Like I call it a stage because you don't have to be there always. Like
right.
Stephen has been saying, you guys, we want to encourage you guys to continue to move forward and make smart money moves. Reach out to Stephen, even just to get a consultation, just to understand money, because it's good to understand money. If you want to understand your body, you go to a physician, you go to somebody who could tell you about your body. So go to someone who could tell you about your money. So yeah,
Where's that at, Alan? StephenAstack.com. What's
Stephen
the
L.
what's
Stephen L. Stack. Stephen L. Stack.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
So
Steve. I keep calling you Stephen A.
Right.
Like
yeah, we got Stephen
Stephen L.
Blasphemous.
L. Stack. He
Blasphemous.
said blasphemy.
Stephen A.
Let me put this website up here, man.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so
StephenLstack.com. Yep. That's fine.
but I got a strolling right there, and I'm gonna put it at right here so people can just see it. Bam, like that. So yeah, Amber says, really enjoyed this interview. Great job, guys. Ashley said, what's up, Alan? What's up? Deshay, what's going on? We appreciate you guys for tuning in to our live audience. We always appreciate you guys. And for the people that will watch this later, we appreciate you guys as well. So, DJ Davi, did you have anything before I do my wrap up?
Oh no, you got it, brother. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Stephen L. Stack. We appreciate you being on the Purpose Pod. You can be on the show anytime you want. Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might
Uh,
we might have to pay him like, $30 a second. That's how much rich people get paid. No, but no, it'd be dope to get, like, we might need to get some, like, I might just copy off his Instagram and just put all his financial wisdom that he puts on there. I'll just share wisdom, money wisdom from Stephen Stack on the Purpose Pod. We're gonna figure something out because he got to keep dropping dollars for these people while we're building towards our purpose. Casey says, good show. Casey, what it do? Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you so
up,
much.
Casey?
We appreciate you. So, all right, DJ Davi. So I'm gonna do the shout outs real quick, do the wrap up, and then we'll be out of here. Okay. So Davi, I'm gonna take you off and then do this with Steven. So I wanted to put this book up here. I actually had the picture that I saved earlier. So Steven, can you go ahead and give them like, I know we discussed it earlier. You talked about your daughter, but could you just go ahead and give a brief intro so that when we snippet this, it'll be for that.
Yeah, so I wrote a book with my daughter at the time. She was 8 years old, called Simple Money Talks, and it's just a a walkthrough of some of the conversations she and I have had about money to make money less intimidating. So whether you have kids or not, there's just some simple, practical principles in the book that can help you to have a better feel and a better handle on money, hearing it explained to an 8-year-old. So that was my hope. My goal was just to get people's minds thinking about having conversations, talking to their kids about money, to
Yeah.
maybe even learning some foundational things for themselves as
Yeah.
well. So hopefully it's encouraging to others.
I like that. So it's an ebook, so you guys can go get an ebook. Davi came back in. Let me see what he said. Oh, okay, we can hear you, Davi. A little bit. I can hear you, but like it sounds like you're from your computer. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I can hear him now. No.
Yeah, come back when you get it right.
Yeah, have to get him to get it on blue
Yeah, you gotta
again.
get it right. You gotta get it right. So thank you for talking about your book, and y'all make sure y'all go get the ebook. You can get the ebook, and check that out. So, Davi,
One more thing.
there it goes. Okay.
Oh, there he is.
I just
Oh,
want to
yeah.
say this. When I said my legacy for Scarlett, I don't want her to work. I didn't say I was going to guarantee that. I just don't want her to go back and watch this in like 18, 19, 20 years and say, you said I wasn't going to have to work. So I'm coming back to say, hey, that's not guaranteed. I'm working at it. All right. Y'all here? We got 2 witnesses.
Yeah.
I just want to put that caveat in there. In case
All right,
We got
you got your
all
back.
right, so I'm out. Peace.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. See you.
He's stupid. He said, I ain't gonna hold me to that. Not today.
Right.
Kalina, thanks, cuz. Appreciate it. See you at the family reunion. Thank you for I'm glad you enjoyed the show. So yeah, that was funny. But
Yeah.
Diversity's finest, my boy Ryan Farmer, they had me speak at their event this past week. It was amazing. I want to just give them a shout out. Yo, so Steven, I knew, but I trademark, never stop, never quit, repeat. So I finally got it trademarked, and I am making moves in that area right there. You know, and that's the best way I could do it to make smart money moves, right? Because I got to secure the bag.
Yes, sir.
So if anybody has questions about trademarking, I have a connect with the trademark attorney, and I can connect you guys with her. It was very smooth. So yeah, we're doing that. I have an event with my boy Reese Royal, and we're going to do a performance in Greensville soon. I think I said the right city. One of those little cities over here in North Carolina. I got to go out of town this weekend. But so y'all stay on the lookout for that. But man, number one, shout out to DJ Davi once again. Thank you, DJ Davi, for bringing us the heat, the fire, and the great conversation. Cool People Network and Red at 28. We appreciate you guys for being sponsors. Hey Ty app and Petty Gigs. Petty Gigs. This is all about money, right? So money moves. Petty Gigs gives people an opportunity to do gigs on the side and get hired as giggers from people who post gigs. So Steven Stack, man, like I'm so thankful for you, brother. And I hope that sometime soon we can link up, grab some coffee, chat, and we're gonna do some money chatting because I gotta get my monies right. And because I want to make sure that I leave a legacy for my daughter and my future kids. But I'm definitely going to connect with Steven. So you guys make sure y'all do that as well and follow him on Instagram. Steven, do you have any final words that you want to say? Any shout outs you want to do? This is your flow right now.
Man, well, first off, I appreciate you having me. Love the conversation, and just my final encouragement to people is it's possible. Like just the first step in building wealth is just acknowledging it's possible for you, that you can do it, and knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power.
Come on.
So you've got to actually put action behind the knowledge you get.
I don't want to say nothing because that was just too good. Dude. I didn't even want to say, all right. Well, the snipper's going to be good because I had to pause right there to make sure I ain't say nothing because that's going to be some fire right there. But, man, Steven, dog, I appreciate you, brother. I really, truly enjoyed this conversation with you. And I'm just looking forward to seeing you rise higher and higher. I speak more money, more wealth into your life and more happiness, more joy into your life, man. And I am just so thankful for you making the sacrifices that you've made thus far in order to be where you are, because it has encouraged me and others to do better and to be better. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Oh, man. Appreciate you too, man. This was great, man. Good stuff tonight.
Thank you, brother. Y'all, everybody, Steven Stack, this has been the Purpose Pod. Thank you, Steven. So I hope that you all please go check out Steven's ebook. Please check out his ebook. Like you guys are, I'm going to make sure that I put that on the post later as well so that you guys have the direct link to check out his ebook. Make sure you guys follow him on Instagram, Stacking with Stack. Like you guys, make sure you connect with Steven. Please make sure you connect with Steven because he is a game changer and he's going to help you do better. And that's what we all need to do. If you want to put your mind to it, you can do it. So this has been another episode of the Purpose Pod, purposely driving you forward. I am your host, Mr. Never Stop, Never Quit, Repeat himself, Alan Levi Simmons. Peace.